Today I'm going to tell you about what the future looks like for Oklahoma at defensive end, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Alright, so this is the start of a new series called Position Breakdown, where I'm going to look at the positions on the Oklahoma Sooners defense and offense and highlight some players that you know about, some you haven't been thinking about since the spring game started, and tell you who I think is going to make up the 2 deep come August. And today we're starting with defensive ends. Now we know that we lost DJ Ward. DJ Ward was more than a serviceable defensive end, but the future is kind of awesome when you look at this position for us, starting with a guy like Kenneth Mann. Remember, Kenneth Mann had 5.5 sacks last season, and I really think this is the year we're going to see him break out. He had an outstanding spring game, and you can see the light bulb is starting to come on with a guy like that who's going to get more snaps. And like I said, I'm high on Kenneth Mann in a way that Neville Gallimore is high on Kenneth Mann, giving this quote: "You're about to see special things come from him. He doesn't really talk much, but his play will show. We're going to surprise a lot of people. Neville, from your mouth to the football god's ears, because I want a top 10 defense." Being ranked 87th in the country ain't cutting it for me. I also think moving Amani Bledsoe to defensive end is a good move. You'll remember he was a starter for Team Adrian Peterson in the spring game. Amani Bledsoe started off the year suspended, but when he got on the field, he looked great on the field. So if he can keep his mind on football and take care of his business off the field, I think those two guys have an opportunity to do some really cool things. But two players people aren't talking about right now that I think they should be are Tyreece Lott and Isiah Thomas. Both of those guys started the spring game. Isiah Thomas at right side defensive end and Tyreece Lott at left side defensive end. Between those four alone, we look really good at defensive end, especially with 4 and 5 men on the line of scrimmage at all times. If Mike will switch from his 2-gap scheme to more of a 1-gap scheme and simplify the defense on the line and let Calvin Thibodeau coach him up, the defensive ends could be a force in a way that we haven't seen since the early 2000s, when guys like Dan Cody were playing defensive end and running roughshod over people. We also got our first look at freshman early enrollee Roddy Perkins, who was outstanding running to the football, hustling. You can see why everybody was really high on Roddy Perkins when he got here, and now he's getting those early snaps in spring camp, which are going to help him come fall camp and give him more of an opportunity to see the field than a guy like, say, Tatum, who's also, I think, going to be an impact freshman. Between those 6 guys, we're pretty stacked at defensive end, and we're stacked for a while. Most of the guys that I mentioned are young guys, and a guy like Amani Bledsoe, who can play some defensive tackle and also can play some defensive end, is probably going to see a lot more snaps in a Mike Stoops defense because he likes to move players around and put 3, 4, and sometimes 5 men on the line of scrimmage. And y'all know how I feel about putting 3 men on the line of scrimmage. However, I know we saw Jalen Redmond at the jack linebacker spot, and we saw Mark Jackson at more of a strong side linebacker. Those two guys also can rush from the end spots. But right now, today, I think Amani Bledsoe and Kenneth Mann are our 2 best options at defensive end. Deuces.